Taurus, have you ever felt an invisible weight on your shoulders, even when you were sitting still, in the safety of your own home? A weariness that doesn't come from labor, a sense of emptiness even when surrounded by the very things you worked so hard to build, a quiet, persistent anxiety that everything could collapse at any moment, making you afraid to change even the smallest thing. That is not your imagination. That is a sign. Something is returning, not to frighten you, but to reclaim the peace you thought you had purchased with your silent sacrifices. And if you are Taurus, listen closely, because this warning cannot wait any longer. To understand who he is, we must return to the place where everything once quietly began to fall apart. The place where you first accepted a burden that was not yours, simply because you believed it was the only way to keep things stable. There are moments in life when we suddenly feel exhausted, not from effort, but from something unseen that is siphoning our life force. Something that touches the very core of your greatest fear. The fear of loss, of instability. That is, when you know something is coming back. Something you thought you had buried beneath the solid foundation of your life. But you forget, not every foundation is built on truth, and not every burden that disappears is truly gone. Lately, have you felt as if a shadow is watching you? Not the kind that lurks outside your window, but a heavy presence, like a stone in your soul. It says nothing. It does not touch you, yet you can feel it clearly. You are drained. You have lost your joy in the simple things. You are no longer yourself. That is not a vague feeling. That is a signal. A signal that something is seeking to return and reclaim control over your peace. The part of you that once had to carry everything, that had to stay silent, that had to sacrifice its own desires for the security of others. Perhaps there was once someone in your life who made you believe that love and security were things to be earned through sacrifice. Someone you cared for, built for, to the point that you forgot your own inner garden was withering. Or someone who convinced you that your worth was in what you could provide, not in who you were. That person may no longer be in your present life, but their energy still lingers in a hidden corner of your consciousness. In the language of the spirit, we call him the Stone Keeper, not because of his form, but because of the energy of an old, hardened soul, unwilling to move. And today, I have come to tell you, he is returning. You will not see him, but you will feel him. The exhaustion that hits the moment you allow yourself to rest. Your favorite foods suddenly tasting bland. A sudden anxiety about your finances rising for no reason, even when all is well. Or that heavy feeling whenever you think about making a change in your future. Some may say, it is coincidence. I do not believe so. For the Lord once said, the thief does not come through the front door. He slips through the cracks in your foundation. And the frightening thing is not the arrival of the darkness, but when we no longer realize when it first slipped in. It does not come to take away those you love. Number. It comes to abduct your very soul. The part you struggled to keep steady, to find a little simple joy in. It comes like a whisper in your mind, just as you're about to try something new. Don't change. It's dangerous. You will lose everything. This is the only safe place. Do you know that is not your voice? It is the echo of those who once made you believe that stability was more important than happiness. Taurus, you have the most steadfast and resilient heart of all the zodiac, and because of that, you are also the one who can silently bear the heaviest burdens for the longest time. But today, you are no longer who you once were. Today, you have the right to look back and say, no to the burdens that are not yours to carry. No to anyone who ever made you believe you had to sacrifice yourself for peace. Because sometimes we do not need to destroy the stone. We only need to stop carrying it on our shoulders. And when you set that burden down, you will realize you were never weak. To do that, you do not need extraordinary strength. You only need to return to your own body, to the ground beneath your feet, the place where life has never gone out. From there, you will see clearly. No one can control you if you are no longer afraid of change. No one can drain your energy if you no longer carry their responsibilities. And if you are asking yourself, do I still have the strength to put this burden down? Then pause for a moment, breathe deeply, and remember this. Your strength is the one thing it cannot imitate. Because that strength does not come from endurance, but from your connection to the earth, to life itself. You are still here. You are still breathing. And that means you still have a choice. The choice not to let that gray figure reclaim the space you won back through persistence and patience. And at the very moment your hand touches this truth, something else is happening. A thin veil in your soul is shifting, and you begin to feel something you once forgot. You are being watched, not by people, but by an old energy trying to fasten itself again to the ground you just purified. We will keep going, but this time not with fear, but with eyes that have begun to see from within. You know, there are things that leave no trace and yet still leave us unsettled, like a weight without form, a terrifying silence, a mirror clouded by the breath of an old soul. After many years walking beside souls on their healing journey, I have come to see one truth. When the light within you begins to grow, you do not only illuminate your own future, you also bring into sight what once hid in the shadows. You have come so far, Taurus. I know you have done the hardest work in this life, the work of building and preserving, and you have begun to see clearly what before you could only sense in faint outlines. You begin to see clearly what is true stability and what is a gilded cage, what is care and what is control, wearing the mask of concern, what is gentle speech that carries hidden chains. And at times, you also begin to realize that you too once imprisoned yourself through fear and unnecessary endurance. When your soul begins to shift, the energies once fed by your silence, they begin to resist. They do not return cloaked in ghostly forms. They return in seemingly harmless situations. A message from someone whose name you have long left unspoken. A job opportunity that seems safe, but your intuition does not welcome. A small remark, but it touches a wound of scarcity not yet healed. A dream that pulls you back to where you once lost your way. Not by chance. All are tests of the light. And do you know, the more light there is, the more unresolved things begin to show. The moment you start to love yourself is the moment those who once fed on your sacrifice feel their power fade. The moment you begin to speak your truth is the moment the lies around you begin to tremble. The moment you no longer try to please is the moment you begin to live for real, and the light begins to take form. Taurus, you are a grounded soul. You feel the instability others do not see. You carry the sorrows of others without asking their name. And because of this, you often carry burdens that are not yours. But today, you must know this. You are no longer responsible for carrying anything that does not belong to the light. You may lay it down, gently as a leaf falling from a tree. You may return all that does not belong to you in stillness, without blame. Jesus once taught, "You shall know them by their fruits." If someone drains you, makes you feel small, makes you doubt yourself, then they are not of the light. Perhaps you are asking yourself, am I strong enough to refuse what once felt familiar? Am I being too sensitive when my intuition keeps whispering, this energy is not right? I want you to know that feeling is real. You are not imagining it. You are being warned through your body's intuition. And that is not weakness. It is a form of ancient wisdom. Not all darkness screams and terrifies. Often, it comes in gentle shapes. A person who seems so kind, a job that looks stable, a relationship with no clear fault, except that it makes you shrink smaller each day. And those are the very things we must be most awake to. Your soul cannot be bound by chains, but it can be imprisoned by small compromises each day. One silence when your heart longs to speak. One nod when your soul wants to refuse. One dream postponed for fear of instability. Bit by bit, you drift away from yourself without noticing. Yet you are still here, and the light has never stopped calling your name. Today, if you feel you are being held down by a nameless energy, then turn inward. There are no cameras there, no supervision, no one watching, only you and the source of light you were born with. In this moment, there is no need to resist. Simply stand still and recognize. Simply say within your heart, I see this. I do not resist it, but I do not walk with it either. And that energy will drift away, like smoke carried off by the wind. Awakening does not mean you will no longer be tested. Awakening means you no longer respond the way you once did. You no longer fight. You no longer fear. You simply remain with yourself, like a mountain that knows exactly why it stands firm. And when you can hold that steadiness, you will begin to feel something new. Not the pursuit, but the presence. A pure space where you can protect your own energy gently, deeply, with quiet strength. And that is where we must begin to practice. Not to escape the darkness, but to learn how to keep the light with intention. Because light is not enough just to shine. It must be held steady, as a declaration, a silent protection, a boundary woven with love. And that is what I wish to bring you to right now. You are ready, Taurus. We will no longer only see, we will learn how to preserve, with faith, with ritual, with a small prayer, yet strong enough to make every shadow halt its steps. So, close your eyes and step into that space with me. The place where you begin to set your boundaries with light. There are boundaries unseen by the eye. Yet if you do not set them, others will cross uninvited. Not everyone carries darkness, but if you do not intentionally guard your light, then the darkness, whether by accident or design, will find a way to slip in. I am not speaking of the visible world. I am speaking of a deeper realm where your mind and soul meet. There, every choice you make leaves a trace. Every word you speak leaves an echo. And when you have begun to walk in the light, when you have begun to open your heart again after so many years locked tight, then there is one thing you must do. A thing most of us forget. You must learn to keep yourself, not in fear, but in the knowing that you are the guardian at the gate of your own soul. You do not need permission to protect your peace. You do not need to explain why you choose not to engage with someone. You do not need to feel guilty for choosing to keep your energy pure. This is not selfishness. This is the kindest thing you can do for yourself and for the world. So, where to begin? I will not lead you into a chain of complicated rituals. I will only show you 3 simple things you can do today. 3 small acts, yet strong enough to restore the boundary around your soul, not like a wall, but like a gentle, unwavering layer of light. First, prayer, but it does not need to be ornate. All it takes is to wake up in the morning, place your bare feet on the floor, place your hand over your heart, and say, "Lord, may the energy of the earth support me today. Let me see clearly what comes from love and what does not. Help me stand firm in kindness, yet not be easily moved. Let your peace be the circle of protection around my soul." Second, the symbolic act. Before going to bed, place a small stone or a glass of clean water by your bedside. Look at it, then close your eyes. Imagine all the burdens and anxieties of your day flowing out of you, being absorbed by that object and neutralized by the earth. Then whisper, "Whatever does not belong to the light has no permission to touch me tonight. I am safe. I am guarded." You will be surprised how something so small can transform the quality of your sleep so deeply. Third, the cord-cutting technique. When you feel that someone or something is draining you, do not try to endure it. Step away from that space for a moment. Stand still, close your eyes, and take a deep breath. Imagine a cord of energy between you and them. Gently say, "Within, I no longer hold this. I return your responsibility to you with love. I keep what is mine. I am at peace." You do not need anyone's agreement. You only need to stop the binding inside you first. I know what I share today is not common practice, but they are what I have practiced and have witnessed thousands of souls reborn through. No one teaches us how to guard our energy. They only teach how to guard appearances, how to keep others pleased, but they do not teach us how to keep ourselves whole after every time we are drained. Dear Taurus, you were not born to serve the expectations of another. You are not here to be endlessly kind at the cost of your soul. You are here to become the steady ground the world so desperately needs. But that ground must be tended like a sacred flame. Today, you do not need to do anything grand. Just begin by keeping a little peace for yourself. Keep a small, sacred space where you are untouched by what should not reach you. Because in this chaotic world, the one who knows how to guard their peace is the one who heals an entire field of vibrations. And when you begin to do this, you will notice something strange. No one can invade you anymore, not even with a word. No longer will you feel exhausted just by standing near someone. No longer will you lose yourself just to keep someone else from leaving. Instead, you will begin to stand tall, not to fight, but to be fully yourself. Steady, gentle, radiant, untouched. And it is precisely when you stand there, serene in the midst of the world, that another thing begins to happen. Not only will the ones from the past want to return, but new things, strange temptations, sweet invitations will also appear. But this time, you will not be afraid anymore, because you know what they truly want is not you. It is the light you carry within. And that is what we need to face together, right here, right now. There are nights when you feel so empty that even your prayers cannot rise anymore. Not because you have lost faith, but because you are exhausted. I know you do not need more words telling you to be strong. You do not need anyone to paint you a new horizon. What you need is a safe space where you can simply be yourself, without doubt, without judgment, without performing. And that is exactly what he wants to steal. Not your possessions, not your name, but your sacred right to live true. He does not need to lock your doors. He only needs to make you doubt yourself, to make you believe that you are not enough to be who you are. He comes like smoke, slipping through the cracks you thought had healed. The phrases you heard when you were small. Don't be so sensitive. You have to be strong, tired already, and you've done nothing. He gathers all of it like weapons to make you forget that you were born enough, that you have always been light, only the world was so full of shadows you felt forced to hide. He fears you remembering. He fears you stepping out of the role you have played too long. He fears you no longer asking permission just to rest in peace. Because when you rise with the truth in your heart, you are no longer just a soul awakened. You become a lighthouse in the stillness. Not loud, but bright enough for others to find their way. And that is why you are tested. Not because you are weak, but because you have begun to resist being controlled. You once shrank yourself to avoid making others uncomfortable. You once hid your tears so no one would think you fragile. You once endured what was undeserved just to keep the peace. But what happens when you no longer live to please? What happens when you lift your head and say, "This is me, and I will not apologize for it"? In that moment, Taurus, your true soul returns. No more hiding, no more shrinking, no more compromise. It steps forward, quiet, yet alive, and the whole world will feel it. You do not need to prove anything. Your presence itself is already the message. A person who dares to live true is a living prayer in this world. You do not need to speak. You only need to be authentically. And that light will heal those watching you from the shadows. They may not say anything, but they see. And one day, they too will dare to be real, because they saw you dared first. You once thought that you had to do something great to be called a world changer. But no, true change begins the moment you stop betraying yourself. From the moment you stopped forcing yourself to fit in and began quietly living in truth. From then on, everything shifted. Those who did not belong naturally walked away. What no longer served you simply dissolved. And doors you never expected began to open. Gently, yet unshakably. You no longer have to choose between being loved and being yourself. You are worthy of both. And real love, it will never ask you to shrink in order to fit. True love expands the space wide enough to embrace all of you, even the corners that are not yet perfect. You do not need to shine in the surface sense. You only need to stop hiding your light. You only need to stop folding yourself smaller when your soul longs to speak. You were born carrying a light that belongs to no one else. And when you live in alignment with it, you are not only healing yourself, you become a safe ground for other trembling souls searching for their way. You are the living proof that even after breaking into pieces, one can still return to oneself, but deeper, brighter, more radiant. No one can ever steal your soul unless you surrender it. And today, you did not. You chose to rise. And that, dear Taurus, is enough to make the light within you become a steady pillar for this entire world. If what I have shared today stirred something inside you, leave a line. The stonekeeper in my life is. It may be a person, it may be a memory, it may be a part of you that you once tried to hide. Writing it down is the very first way for light to touch it. Thank you for sitting here listening and allowing yourself to be touched by that truest part of you. May you always be guided by light, protected by God, and kept safe by the very love you once forgot to give yourself. May peace and clarity always walk with you on the path you choose.